We now have new evidence confirming that the BBC are essentially a propaganda machine against the Jews and Israel, and of course the Western values in general. On this channel, we usually tend to also give big shout outs to other journalists who do a great job. In this situation, we're talking about David Collier, award-winning investigative journalist who actually did a very good job, obviously exposing the BBC. We're going to go through his work and what he's actually discovered about the BBC and recent reportings of this organization. Let's start with this. David said, exclusive. Yesterday, BBC News, their flagship program, BBC Verify, which is a fact-checking program allegedly, published blatant pro-Iranian propaganda. BBC Verify is an amateurish propaganda device that is driven by unacceptable bias and publishes blatant lies worthy of a Russian Soviet-era misinformation service. Now let's begin. Number one. All right. BBC Verify published a 1 minute and 20-second video titled "Where Iran's Missiles Struck in Israel." The BBC tells us the video is to counter false imagery circulated online. They say they verified strikes in the vicinity of 3 key locations, all of them military sites. So obviously the IRGC said we only hit military sites. The BBC showed Mossad headquarters, air bases, saying yes, they hit here. Basically, Iran, whatever Iran says, is true. David then says, this creates an immediate problem. Why only these 3? For example, a verified strike by Ramat Gan, a shopping center, remember the shopping malls that was hit, has not been included. For some reason, BBC Verify left known strikes, such as the one on the shopping mall, out of their analysis. It is difficult to escape the conclusion that BBC Verify were deliberately publishing a pro-Iranian propaganda line that the missiles were fired only at military sites. But it gets a lot worse, David says. Watch this. Look at this. When the journalist turns to the attack on the Telnov base, things become surreal. We find the base was not hit at all, the military base. This is the script. In this video, you can see a crater where a missile has landed. It is not the airbase itself, but a school a few miles away. That's according to the BBC themselves. They debunked their own original claim, but in a very quick, just subtle way. And David says, what? So the Iranians didn't hit the airbase, they hit a school. So why isn't it that a school that is listed on, that isn't obviously listed on in the map? How on earth can BBC Verify know the intended target was the airbase? The school was about 5 miles from the airbase. It is in a different place entirely. Just because the IRGC told the BBC says, yeah, trust the IRGC. Context. Below on the map are 2 marks, Gaza city centre and Jabalia camp. 5 miles between them. Would BBC Verify report a strike on a school in Jabalia as a strike on a Hamas military target 5 miles away? Wouldn't they call this disinformation? Very fair question. David continues. The BBC Verify journalist who did all this, by the way, presenting it, is actually Nawal al-Maghafi. She is a Yemeni born. Earlier in her career, she seems to have worked with Al Jazeera, Middle East Eye, and even the Iranian mouthpiece Press TV. These are the people that BBC recruits. DEI, diversity and all this nonsense. So, this is why the BBC is in a mess. They are literally hiring traitors, the enemies of the West. This is the example, for example. This is what Nawal said. David says, there are things like this from her social media, Free Palestine hashtags and images of the pro-Iranian cults and all the others. This is the same so-called impartial, unbiased BBC journalist unable to differentiate between a strike on a school and a military target. Nawal al-Maghafi says, this picture speaks for itself. Hashtag Gaza, hashtag Free Palestine, hashtag London. It's basically a couple of Jews. David continues by saying, the report is fitting for Press TV or Electronic Intifada or RT Today. It should not, under any circumstances, have ever been funded by the British public. No more excuses. It really is time to pull the plug on this bunch of amateurish supremacist propaganda hacks. David Collier, thank you so much for your work, and I hope you guys enjoyed this informative exposés of the fact checkers. Tousi TV and David Collier are always here to fact check the fact checkers.
Thank you for watching, liking, and subscribing. And until next time, stay bold, stay blessed,
and stay checker.